What's happening, good people? Welcome to the channel. I'm Wes, aka Mr. Budget Watch, and today I'm taking a look at potentially the best watch under 50 quid you can get from AliExpress, the 2022 Addiesdive Quartz. So AliExpress is known for a good deal here or there, and to be honest, I'm not certain there's anything that can top this at the price. But if you think there's something, then of course let me know. Anyways, you can find a link to this at the best price I can find from a good reliable seller down in the description. So let's dive in. Beginning with the sizes, and well, this budget diver measures in at 41mm. The bezel is a little bit smaller actually at 40.3. If you add in the crown, the total size goes up to 45.4. Look to look is 48mm, which is increased to 53.3 thanks to those male end links. Thickness is 12.8 and the lug width is 20mm, which is always nice to see. Finally, that crown, 6.9mm. According to the listing, the case is made from 316L steel and the bracelet is a lower grade steel. We have a mineral crystal with AR coating as well as a screw down crown and case back. The weight of the watch size for me is 131 gram. And we also have a mix of BGW9 and C3 Loom, which I honestly didn't think was possible at this price point. Another impressive stat at this price point is the claimed 200 meters water resistance. Finally, that bezel. It has a surprisingly impressive ceramic insert, 120 click, unidirectional, and has that loom pip at the 12. Around the bezel you'll spot, it's a typical subby style with the minute markers at every 15 and batons every 10. You can also spot the numerals at every alternate 10 minutes too, so it's a pretty comprehensive bezel, but not the most, of course. The buttons or numerals are surprisingly good and look impressive. No complaint really. The bezel grip is decent and gives you enough purchase in use. Speaking of, the action is actually really good. Nice and tactile, clicker, and pretty smooth too. The individual clicks are pretty well defined and it all lines up true. There is a smidge of black play, but nothing really concerning, as I've seen way more expensive watches with worse. Here's a listen. The rehaut is plain and just has a simple brush finish that slopes down towards the white printed minute track. This isn't the most crisp I've seen, but it's still pretty legible. This brings us to the applied indices. Honestly, I would have been fine with printed at this price point, but well, applied is better. And again, these are a surprise. They have a high polished border and are loom filled. They're nothing unique, but pretty well done for the price. The layout is what you'd expect from a typical Subby Homage, an upside down triangle at the 12. Circular indices for the majority, which is broken by batons every 15. Not groundbreaking or original, but solidly executed. Finally, at the 3 we have everyone's favourite Cyclops and date window. I'm not even going to say what I'm thinking, but I will say that the Cyclops is better than I was expecting and actually gives you a pretty clear view at the date. It's also bordered too. Quite impressive again. To the dial, and it's a nice deep black with a slightly glossy finish. It seems pretty clean and I honestly have no complaint. The text is kept to a bare minimum as well, with only Addiesdive and their logo printed under the 12 and divers 200 meter above the 6. They should probably change that as it's not certified, but you know what AliExpress is like. Finally, to my first little criticism, the hands. They're a classic Merc style and are pretty nicely done, but I think they are a touch thin. And also the hour hand is on the short side, as is the second hand as well. I think they definitely could have been doing with being a fraction longer just to fill out that dial a bit more. The sides of the case, high polish, nothing really to write home about there. Unsigned screw down crown and crown guards. Polish is okay, no major praise, no major complaint either. Last up for the case, it's the case back, and it's a typical subby style with a screw down back. No design work, but honestly at the price point, can't really complain. The bracelet on the Addies is an oyster style with a mix of finishes. In the centre you'll spot some polishing, which is flanked by brushing. The polishing is an area you can tell the price point, but again I can't really expect a proper mirror polish quality at this price. The brushing is nice, it's nothing amazing, but it's not slapdash and horrible either. Another pluses, we have solid end links, solid links, and some pretty decent articulation. It's all held together with push pins, which is fine at the price point. As for the clasp, it's one of those off-the-shelf BOGO standard press ones with 3 micro adjusts and a brushed finish. Can't really criticise, to be honest, as I've seen more expensive watches use the same clasp. On wrist, it surprised me too. Past Subby Homages I've always found to be nice to wear, but their extra thickness made them a little bit unwieldy compared to how this wears. I think obviously that's down to it being a quartz and being a fair amount slimmer and lighter, so it does hug my wrist better and feels a little bit more balanced too. The size is manageable as well. Even with the male end links, it fits and I don't get any lug overhang, though the male end links do extend past my wrist some. But I wouldn't say it's overly ungainly. I will say if you have slim wrists like myself, you might want to find an alternative that doesn't use male end links if you're not a fan. But those of you with larger wrists, you're going to have no issue at all. To get the watch to fit, I removed all the links I could, and the fit is pretty snug. As I mentioned, the bracelet has good articulation, which is another reason why it wears so nicely. At the core of the watch is the Miyota 2115, a basic 3-handed quartz that uses a SR626SW and has a battery life of up to 4 years. The movement has 0 joules, negative to plus 20 seconds per month, which is solid. But how is it day to day? Well, it's actually not that bad. The crown initially is very tight, and it even has a gasket too, which is again another surprise and does add a lot of value for money. The movement has 2 stages, the first being the date adjust. This isn't quick set, but for the price I can't really complain. The action is smooth though. The crown is large and wide enough to get a good grip and is nice to use. Finally pulling out the crown to the final stage, and the second hand does stop, and you are of course free to adjust the time. Speaking of, it's actually pretty smooth. You do get a little bump feedback, but it's nothing concerning, and again it's quite smooth and surprising. And I've said that a lot, but it's quite true. Finally, another amazing shock surprise is the Loom. At this price point I'd expect some cheap compound that barely glows at all, but no. Here we've got a mix of that BGW9 and C3. What even? I mean, some even more expensive watches don't spring for this, so how on earth does it show up here? But anyway, is it actually good? Well, I think the clip answers that. I mean, it's just about better than any other budget watch at this price point I've seen. It's fantastic, and it's easily on par with some watches costing more than this. I mean, just look at my channel, we've seen more expensive watches with way worse Loom. Is it perfect? No. The bezel insert and hands steal the show, but those indices do fade a lot quicker, but it's still way better than what I was expecting. I think it's clear what I think of this. Is it a perfect watch? No. But is it one of the best watches on AliExpress under £50? I think it probably is. It gets things right that some more expensive stuff fails to, and I have to give credit where credit is due. Of course, none of that's for the originality of it, but for value for money, I don't think there's better. Especially when you consider all in, it sits anywhere between 35 and 45, depending on the seller and whether it's in sale or not. And of course, don't forget to factor in those annoying taxes as well, which does bring it closer to £50 on some occasions. But even then, I still think it's a cracking value watch. What do you guys think? Thanks for watching the video. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss any uploads. And of course, follow me on social media at Mr. Budget Watch. Thanks again. I'll see you soon.